for you. Don't worry about it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode in a new season of Just Two Dads with my co-host, Sean Francis. I'm Brian Altunian, and today's conversation is with a phenomenal guy, technically savvy. We'll explain later. Dealing with conservatorships. When our children get to the age of 18 and become legal adults, what do we do? How do we handle that? How do we help them get to the next phase in their life? Today on Just Two Dads. Hey, everybody. I am Brian Altunian, along with Sean Francis. Another episode of Just Two Dads in our fifth season. Sean, fifth, officially the fifth season. Oh, it's only fourth. Feels like we've done almost 200 episodes, Bruce, of this podcast in the last 4 years, and we've broken them into seasons. So we're first episode of season 4. We're excited to have you. If you're catching us on Facebook Live, good to see you. Leave comments if you'd like to, if you have any questions for our guest. If you're catching us after the fact on our YouTube channel, or actually better, on our website at justtwodadspodcast.com. Hopefully you leave a comment, hit subscribe, and more importantly, share the information with somebody you think needs it. Today's topic will definitely be an area of interest for your families of special needs kids who are becoming teenagers and soon to be young adults. So without further ado, we'll thank everybody else later. Billy Footwear, our partner. We love Billy Footwear, by the way. That's the one I'm going to mention, billyfootwear.com. Click on the story of the founder, Billy Price. It's amazing. It's fascinating. If you click on, you're going to see their specials all the time. We're going to put in our notes a link to a 10% discount if you find something on Billy Footwear that you like. Okay, now without further ado, our guest today, I'm going to let Sean, my partner, introduce him. They've actually done work together, so this is not just some expert giving you their feedback on a certain area that's going to be of interest. This is an attorney who's well versed in the area of conservatorships, but talking to Sean, who's actually now been a client and has now gone through this process with his son. So totally informational. That's probably the most you're going to hear from me the entire podcast, because these two are going to take off from here. Without further ado, Sean Francis, how was your hiatus?
It was great. We've got great things planned for the show and episodes to come, but I want to jump right into our episode here today, because found out through experience not only the value that he brings and what is available in the marketplace for those that are in need of a conservatorship, but also, and I'm sure Bruce will talk about this, the things that you don't know that aren't made available to you, that you have access to but don't know anything about, and how the quote unquote systems in place don't make it exactly easy for us to get from where we are to where we want to be, especially for our loved ones. So we're going to jump into what a conservatorship is. You think about those with special needs, you think about elderly people that are incapacitated. But where I want to start is, Bruce, tell us a little bit about you, because one of the classifications for, or qualifications for, being a hero is that you don't necessarily see yourself as one, and you're busy just doing what you do. But where you're from, you physically, geographically, and emotionally, and how you were raised has everything to do with what made you put on a cape one day and decide to become an attorney who specializes in conservatorships only. And if you're catching this either live or after the fact on YouTube, as I'm saying these things, Bruce is actually turning beet red and shaking his head saying, yeah, hero my behind. But I'm here to tell you that you're wrong. You are a hero, because first of all, before you begin, I'll tell everyone, being a quote unquote caregiver or advocate, I'm sort of in the know, so to speak, but you don't know what you don't know until the time comes that you need to know it. Our son turned 18. We have connections with attorneys that we work with as far as wills and trusts. Didn't have anybody like that for conservatorship. Contacted our regional center, and they said, I can send you some information, but we can't refer anybody. Don't know anything about that. So they sent me some bullet points on basic things that anybody can look up online. My wife called another day. The person that was the officer of the day, that means that person doesn't regularly answer the phone. They said, oh, sure, you can call this guy at the Conservatorship Center. He's really cool. And that's how we found out. And that's not much different than how we found out after years of paying for pull-ups for our son, that the regional center will actually pay for those. So with that said, welcome to Just Two Dads, Mr. Bruce Kauffer. Bruce, welcome.
It's great to be here, guys. Just Sean, I want to let you know that your final documents, the letters of conservatorship, have been mailed to you, so you should get them by today or tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Happy about that.
Thank
The
you. Thank you.
hero part, I don't, whatever. But it's definitely a privilege to have done what we've done over this period of time. Going back to your story of how you contacted us, since probably that time and even before, we have become the #1 referral source to the special needs community. That includes the courts, doctors, nonprofits, regional centers. We're the only semi-for-profit that's referred to by virtually everybody. Because of that, we're now just about at 750 petitions that have been filed and granted by the court.
Holy
So
cow.
I guess we kind of know what we're doing a little bit, but the court still gets in. The court still gets in the way of what I see a very, very screwed up system. And we try to be able to basically move people through that system the best we can and simplify it. But I never knew in my wildest thought that it would be what it is. I thought this would be a simple give back to the community. I didn't realize the depth of this community and what it needs, and it's just mind-boggling.
Right.
So anyway,
well, tell us a little bit about that, because like you said, you saw it as a give back. There's a reason why you're a person who wants to give back. Tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you came up and everything.
Yeah, well, I was born in Detroit, which I'm very proud of. We then moved from Detroit to Baldwin Hills, which has got a very, very, very specialist place in my heart. And at that time, it's strange. I started my first for-profit business at 8 years old, which was Baldwin Hills has just tons of apartments. And so I got this sort of epiphany that I'm going to go ahead and secure as many bits of Halloween candy as I possibly can. I literally had bags of it. And I would wait for a couple of months until the kids went through all theirs, and I'd set up a little shop outside the apartment. So I'd start selling candy back to the community. So that's my sort of making. The same time I started my first sort of nonprofit, which was to raise money to the first ever bike wash for Children's Hospital. So we bought a bunch of presents, and ironically, or full circle, I now have a very strong relationship with CHLA, which is just weird to me. Full circle. So my beginnings was really the idea of making and giving back at the same time. So with the Conservatorship Center, I literally started doing pro bono work for an organization I'm not even going to talk about because they're useless. When I saw that wasn't working very well, so I started with basically nothing and just said, I want to just do this. I don't know why, I just want to do this. And I started with nothing, and I had a homeless individual speaking Spanish that kind of helped me. That didn't go anywhere. And eventually just started, at the grindstone, got the first family to work with. And from then on, it was like, wow. So it's evolved to a point where, again, we've done hundreds of these. But again, I didn't start. I'm an attorney, but I never practiced. So I was one of the top commercial real estate brokers in the county, probably the number 5. And did extremely well in that, but hated every bit of it because it's just not about humans. It's not about heart. It's not about community. It's about money. And I just tired of it. So I stopped that. I was looking for something to do. And I kind of saw this and I go, well, I don't know. We'll see. I don't even know what a conservatorship is. I thought it was trust. I had no idea. Yeah, and to this day, most people, they just don't know what it is. So we've gotten to the point now where I've got about 3 or 4 associates. They're all bilingual. 70% of our families are non-English speaking, lower educated, that kind of thing, which makes it very, very challenging. And to see how, and I went to the beginning, I'm not going to believe this, to every home.
Wow.
About 250 homes.
Wow.
So I saw things that shouldn't be seen and shouldn't be experienced by anybody.
Right.
And so I really saw the real world, and it chokes you up. It chokes you when you
Because you're
see
talking about people misrepresented and everything.
well, I mean, just the way they live.
Yeah.
Going to their homes and seeing a child just there in their hospital bed with tubes, or screaming and running around. I just saw what it was all about. And every community, I've been to everything from Commerce to Long Beach to Palmdale to Lancaster, everywhere.
You said something. You said something just like a little while back about not even knowing in the beginning yourself what a conservatorship is. So why don't we start with that at the very bare bones and basics, and tell everyone what that is and why it might be needed.
Right now, we have started a workshop, and the workshop is a PowerPoint that's bilingual. We were doing it at the county law library at their invitation. So it shows you how the respect we have as a kind of a for-profit. But I've designed it to the point where it's really become what's called myths and realities. And the bulk of it is really dispelling all of the bad information that has kept people from going forward. And that's everything from you have to be a citizen to you have to have a social security number, a driver's license, all that stuff. And it's out there. And during the course of the workshops, we saw that people just, oh my God, we had no idea. So we would find ourselves at workshops where people would start actually crying, not because we were doing a bad thing, which I thought we were, but they just they were chasing things for a year. And they didn't realize that there was some organization like us, they just a frustration and anger. So our workshop really dispels all the bad information. And because of that, it's opened up the community to knowing who we are, understanding the process, and so forth. So essentially, a conservatorship, by definition, is simply where somebody post-18 has a cognitive impairment or some disability that prevents them from effectively taking care of their own needs, care, and protection. There are essentially three types. We really do 99%, what's called a limited conservatorship of the person. The other two are, one is called an LPS conservatorship, which is instituted by the county health department for someone who's essentially on the streets, schizophrenic, drugs, alcoholism, that kind of thing. That's done by the county, and they become essentially a conservator. Second is the general conservatorship, and that's where somebody over the age of 18 has their disability occur. It's mostly dementia or Alzheimer's. The powers given to them are mostly to the conservator, are health related, picking a residential facility, that kind of thing. So the phone doesn't stop here. So my voicemail gets full in 5 seconds. It's insane.
People need to know the information. It's good.
Jeez. So what we focus on mostly, guys, is the limited conservatorship of the person, in pro per, representing themselves, fee waiver, non-estate case. And so by definition, a limited conservatorship is where the individual has turned 18, the diagnosis occurred before the age of 18, autism, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, whatever. They're attending a regional center, and they're limited to the 7 powers we're asking the court to reinstate because they're now adults. The limited conservatorship idea is very confusing. Why is it limited? Why is it not general? It's just a term that the court uses. It's very misleading. I hate it. I'm a rebel as an attorney, and it's very frustrating for me not to slap everybody. But I can't. I need to keep my relations with the clerks, the courts, what it is.
Yeah.
But it's designed to fail. It's designed to
And
have families fail.
Yeah.
And we're talking 50 pages of documents. We're talking about filing, post-filing, medical report. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be this way. I could do the entire process in 15 pages. Boom, boom, boom. The problem is the guys that if it's too easy, the courts hate it because now they get clogged and so forth. Ironically, we've clogged the courts. We do 30 petitions a month, 35. They've added 2 new courtrooms. Cases are getting continued, but that's
Bruce,
what it is.
Let me ask you a question. Since Sean's gone through it, so now he's pretty well versed, and obviously you're incredibly well versed in this. But I have no idea why I would need a conservatorship or what it entails, why there are 50 pages, why these things are getting held up in court. What is it? And by the way, I have a child who's 17, 18 next year in July. When do I need to look at having a conservatorship if I'm wanting to put one in place? What age the child has to be? Like, talk to me as if I've no idea.
That's one of the. Yeah. So that's one of the myths. There's actually a statement that says, even by some of the regional centers, you have to file after 18. Well,
which is the exact opposite.
Okay. No, that's not correct. Mm-hmm. So we've changed that, and we've come up with what's the truth, and we try to. We can go as early as 17 years of age, because what we do is we process the documents, we get them signed, we get them filed, and they simply wait until the hearing. But what happens now is they'll have the hearing, and immediately, like Sean's letters that were sent out, we get those the next day, as opposed to waiting, and now it's past 18, and now you have to, you don't have your letters of conservatorship with your powers and all of that. So we recommend about 17 and a half.
Okay.
We get it all going, all signed up, and sometimes the court will grant it before 18 and just becomes effective upon the age of majority, which happens about half the time. Now, Brian, it depends on your situation. You can ask Sean, do you have to have a conservatorship? No, there's no legal requirement.
Okay. Great. That's one question I had. Yeah.
And many don't. The question becomes, well, what if I need the power to give medical consent? What if I need the power to terminate a credit card scam? What if I need the power to access confidential records and papers? What if I need to protect them against bad people encroaching on them? What if I need the power to say where they're going to live? So there's 7 powers. So the question is, at some point, you may need one of those powers. Does it always happen? No, probably not. There are probably times people have gotten through it without it, but it's that one time that, oh my God, what do I do? They can't speak for themselves. They can't sign anything. You can't do another myth, parenthetically, is, well, and these are a lot of disability groups, by the way, that like NIMBYs, there's blah, 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 don't know what they're talking about. And they'll say, well, you don't need you don't need a conservatorship, just get a power of attorney.
Exactly. I've heard that. Yeah, I was told that too before I met you.
In my workshops, I don't hold back. I get very angry, extremely angry, and go, well, explain to me how somebody with severe autism is able to sign a power of attorney and understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
So that's what we deal with.
Right,
you can't do a power of attorney. It doesn't exist in this community.
Can you tell me the 7 powers one more time?
Yeah. So it's first the power to say where your loved one is going to live.
Okay.
Number 2, the power to access any and all confidential records from any source. Number 3 is to have the power to control their entrance into marriage or domestic registered partnership.
Yeah.
4, the power to contract or cancel a contract. The power to give medical or withhold medical consent to treatment, to control their sexual and social relationships, and then to make all decisions regarding their education if they're going to school.
And think about it for those listening. If these are things that you're going to have to think about and face. So I'll have Bruce go over what the process is. But one of these phases, that we experienced is the court will send out an investigator to gather information and ask from you exactly which of these powers you're going to.
Well, that's actually kind of incorrect, Sean. That's not really their role, and I'll go through the process. Their role is really, they have to by law meet with the family at home,
right?
But some of them get over their skis. They're really supposed to do nothing more than a background check. That's really
so. There's a good example. We got more than that. We had everything I was just explaining.
It depends on the investigators. I've actually had a couple of them removed because they were just way over their skis. They're scaring the families, and that's just not what they do. That's not their role. That's the court-appointed attorney's role, and our role.
Right.
So anyway, so those are the powers. On the two of them that deal with sort of the soft powers, which are marriage and social relationships, the higher functioning that pros conservatee is, they may sometimes take those away from the family, but they're still going to do it anyway. They're still going to control their loved ones' relationships and that kind of thing. But the five other powers are always granted by the court. So that's basically the powers, which is we always ask the court for. We always ask for the full 7 powers.
And do they sometimes they don't give you all 7? They only give you.
Yeah, they'll always give the 5, the hard powers.
Got it.
Contract, records, consent, education, and where they're going to live. About 5% of the time they won't give the marriage and the relationships, but you're still going to, as a parent or caregiver, you're not going to let some creep come around, trying to scam somebody. So you still have that power,
right.
So yeah, 99% of the time we get all 7 of them.
Okay.
Courts beyond Los Angeles, don't get me started, but they've screwed up the whole system. So we don't touch Ventura, San Bernardino, Riverside, or it's beyond complicated. And so unfortunately in those communities, there's no one doing what we do. So most people really probably don't do it, because your options are going to be, when you see this, you go to the clerk, they give you a package like this. Oh, forget it. It ain't happening. Either you don't do it, you try to do it yourself. Good luck. I'll hire you if you can do that. And third, you're forced to, because of the system designed the way it is. You go to some a-hole attorney who's charging literally thousands of dollars that we do in our sleep. So anyway,
Bruce, just outside of California, is the process the same in all 50 states, or every state has a different way of doing this?
If Sean's been granted his petition, if he were to move to another county in LA, you're supposed to file a motion of transfer. Most people don't do it. Right. If you're leaving the state, what will happen is either the state doesn't have anything, like maybe in Alabama or Mississippi or somewhere. They don't know what you're talking about. Or they have some other form. They're either going to reciprocate and go, we'll honor it from California, or they'll make you go through their own process. Most people that I've seen that have moved out of state have been able to use California. I haven't heard them not being able to, but it's very possible that you got to start all over again. Who knows what their system is?
Wow.
So there's an easy document to fix. If you move out of state, you do a transfer.
Well, it's not a no. That's a whole. They may require you to start all over again under their guidelines.
Oh, geez.
Or they may just honor it. Now we've had people, traveling with their loved ones. Sean and Laura may go to wherever. It depends on who you're talking. It always depends on who you're talking to. A nice clerk, an a-hole. It just depends who you're talking to. And they'll go, hey, no problem. That's fine. Or blah, blah, blah. But most of the people have done pretty well with their California conservatorships, because everybody knows that we are the number one in social services and, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Let me ask you this, Bruce. And I think we talked about this a little, and I think I kind of know the answer, but for the benefit of our audience, what do you think, in your estimation, is the reason why, when one contacts a regional center, and I appreciate what they do and what they do offer and do let people know about, but why do you think, and we've talked about this in other episodes, why do you think there is this sort of hesitance, depending on who you speak to? Just like you said, depends on who you talk to. Why is there a hesitance to connect people with services that they desperately need?
Well, look, I'm going to be on record here. So the regional centers, as another kind of part of this, have to be redesigned. It's got to be something new. It has to be. You have too many people. I'll give you an example if you want. There is a regional center. Probably went to a board meeting about 3 or 4 years ago, something like that, maybe 5 years. And it was a board meeting. And the board meeting has, disabled people on it. It has, members of the community, whatever.
Right.
And the entire meeting was about funding and their paychecks, and not a single word
about
services. Now, at the same time, I'm sitting next to, by just coincidence, 2 state auditors. So the executive director, when she was done speaking, comes about where I'm sitting. She's passing by. I get up. I introduce myself. The first words out of her mouth, "I don't believe in conservatorships."
That's weird.
That freaked me out.
Yeah.
That freaked me out a lot. And I got a real, the war. Now it's war. Now it's war. And I actually got her about 3 years later sanctioned by the court because she had failed to submit their report, regional center report. But unfortunately, there are a lot of service coordinators in the regional centers, lots of them. Most of them still don't even know what a conservatorship is. So no, they don't know the aspects of it. But they've gotten to a point where they realize we got to refer to somebody. We can't refer to a nonprofit which isn't responding. We can't refer them to a $5,000 attorney. So now we're the number one on their list. But it took a while to do that. But they got a long way to go. And in terms of services, Sean, I've seen situations where they recommended a service to the family. The service was crap. And they actually said, because you're not going to take advantage of the services we recommended to you, we're going to cancel you as a client.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I said. I had a conversation with that service coordinator. I'm not sure they're still there because their ears are still burning, probably. So that's the stuff that goes on.
Let me ask you, how difficult is it? Am I naive here then? And I understand that they don't want to refer someone has a bad experience. They're culpable for it in the eyes of the family or whatever. How difficult is it? Is it like fighting City Hall to put some process in place where you vet a provider of some kind and give some limited referral or something, and then have a disclosure that says we can't be held responsible or something? You make your own choice, but I mean something.
Wow, you live in a land that
I was just going to say the issue is that it's all. And by the way, it's all any division of the government that serves the community in this kind of support. They all do the same. I had experience in previous life working with those that are in addiction recovery, and it's exactly the same thing. If you don't know what
red tape,
you come out of rehabilitation, you go into the rehabilitation, but you don't know what you can have. No, you don't ask, and they don't offer anything.
Right. I still don't know all the services. I still know all the services, but we have families don't even know what IHS is, IHSS or SSI. I mean,
and they're entitled to it, but they
don't offer.
I was actually told by a service court. I asked, why are you guys? Because I kind of knew the person. I said, why are you guys so hesitant to kind of help the families? They go, well, getting a conservatorship gives them power, and we don't like that. So that's that one person, but I think that's true. I think it's
Yeah.
true. It gives them a little more power. Now, it's like anything, guys. Either you can advocate or you can't advocate. And
Right.
I have two associates, both special needs families. You probably met Sean. Maybe you met one of them, Lorena or Hector. And
Yep, met them both. Yeah.
These guys are top of the game. I mean, you don't mess with these two. And they know exactly how to get through but that's a lot of work. It takes time. We do try to help our families the best we can, but it's like anything. If you don't advocate, your grandma's sitting in a house somewhere, no one's taking care. It's all about advocacy, and very few people that know how to advocate. Yeah. So it's real tough. I mean, it's we can do what we can do. We can get you your conservatorship, but getting IHSS or SSI, whatever else you're entitled to. There's a lot of stuff out there. I mean,
that's what I was saying earlier in terms of between the show, the work that we do in financial services, being a parent, to Elijah, all this kind of stuff. I'm quote unquote in the know, so to speak. Yeah. But when we have another episode, we're going to cover everything that you don't know about when your child turns 18.
Right.
I knew about IHSS and SSI, but we're just going through that process now because one, there's a qualification issue. So that's the case anyway. But one of them was because we weren't properly informed as to how to go about that process. And,
Sean,
go ahead.
The reason for that is they don't want more work. They just don't want more work.
Yeah.
I'm at the we do a lot of filing. I mean, in fact, if I didn't have the help I have from the clerks, which are now all love what we're doing because we file perfect petitions, it makes less work for them. I parse it out. But I'll be standing there and somebody will come up and I want to do a conservatorship and okay, here's a packet. Good luck.
Yep.
And sometimes the clerk will turn to her and go, the guy right next to you does conservatorships. I don't like that because it seems like I'm, I'm
like a sale or something.
But I want to help them. But that's what it is. You just don't. Nobody, and they're not going to help you. The clerks are not allowed to do that because they can't give legal advice.
Yeah.
Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go if I'm not around? And that's one of my fears. Is I'm not going to do this for another 10 years. I'm just not going to do it. Right. I don't know how long I'm going to do it. And it's if I go away or I don't have something to take its place, especially in this community is right back to where they were in the prehistoric times. And that really kind of upsets me because all my hard work and all our hard work is like, all right, they're right back to where they were before. So I've got to start thinking about what
the families that you take care of. The families you take care of, not the families you take care of. You've taken care of them. So it's the other part of the community that doesn't know that this is
right. But there's a lot of we just don't know what's going on. It's interesting. We decided to no longer do the workshops at the Downtown Law Library because it just got to be too much. We have 50 people show up and half would want to do conservatorships. And, we would have the presentation and I don't know if you were there, Sean, at one of our workshops or not, and then they'll stay and they'll give them the questionnaires and they'll do it. And they've replaced it by the new executive director who has completely changed the entire thing. And advocates, this is interesting, and I want you guys to really understand this. There's supposed to be this thing called supportive decision-making that says, well, you can have your loved one, the conservatee, participate in decisions regarding the conservatorship. Well, that goes right back to power of attorney. How are they supposed to participate in the decision-making process? Well, they can't differentiate between a napkin and a document.
Right.
So the workshop now at the downtown law library basically says there are alternatives to this. There are not alternatives to this. And I want to B-slap somebody very, very hard for even saying that. It does not work. When somebody has cognitive impairment, how are they going to understand an 8-page document that says, we're giving all my powers to this person, understand it and sign it?
Yeah.
Yet the law library is turned it upside down and says, well, there are alternatives.
Yeah.
And even in the documents we file with the court under a screening form for the conservatee is there are no alternatives. They cannot execute, unable to execute. It says it right there in writing.
I think the key word that you said the key word you said a minute ago was advocacy. And in a way, it feels like if I don't think my child can self-advocate in a particular area, that's an area that I want to be able to help.
Right.
Cool. That's kind of so really it's self-advocacy. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what this is all about. Can your child make those decisions on their own? Or
That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. Yeah.
Right. And I just, and just for people, that don't know, not getting into like numbers and details, but what Bruce does is, charges a flat fee for the service. And then what I like about him is when you get to the point where the documents are in place, much like myself, and I'm sitting with a person, a client in financial services, they're signing something, life insurance, whatever the case might be. What really bugs is when somebody says, okay, you sign here, 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 and here, and then you sign there. Now, if you trust the person, I guess, if you trust them, you trust them. But even I don't ever take for granted that my trust is such that I'm just going to say sign here and here and here, which is why I like what you did as well, which is you said, you're going to sign here. This says A, B, and C. You're going to sign here as well. What that means is D, E, and F. So a person knows what it is that they're signing. And that's a small thing, but goes such a long way. The first time I actually spoke to Bruce on the phone, he had a handful of F-bombs for the system. And I knew right away he was pro-family and anti-system. And he's just, that we need warriors and advocacy like that for ourselves. And what happens, especially in communities, depending on culture, education, maybe lack of it, we get tied into a person's title next to their name and everything like that. So when things are put in place to say that you don't know this and you don't know that, or sign here, do this, do that, you're less empowered and, for lack of a better term, enslaved to believe that you're supposed to do what this person says and there's nothing else that you have. What Bruce is about and what we all need to be about is let me do everything I can to empower myself and empower my loved one and go ahead and step forth. And sometimes that means having a hard conversation with yourself about what it is that you want to step in and do for them. Because for anyone, there's the delicate balance between giving your loved one fish versus teaching them the fish. That's tough. You include a disability in there, a diagnosis, old age or whatever, and that becomes more difficult. But we have to operate in practical, objective reality.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we take the family through that entire process, from the first phone call all the way straight through to you getting your final letters of conservatorship certified by the court. So, but it's a real process, and it's taken me, a good couple of years to really, really understand every aspect to it.
Right.
So what's important, what's not important in the documents, how, the documents are reviewed. I understand how they review them. And so we're really, really expert at getting these granted. We will never screw up, but the system will screw up. They'll continue the case. The regional center won't get their report in. The court-appointed attorney, who's just a private attorney making some extra money, will screw up. And that's frustrating, because if somebody else screws up and it gets continued, it's another 2 or 3 months we're with that family now, on top of the new families.
Right. And that just has you bogged down. Two things. I want to give credit where it's due, even though I can't give a name, but we had a caseworker from the regional center where when I had a conversation about the conservatorship, somehow we went into the conversation about even the work that Brian and I do in terms of financial services. And this individual was so almost a victim of the system as well, because they were frustrated and they're like, no. And what they did is they encouraged me. They're like, if you feel that the services that you offer and or know about, don't be afraid to step right up and let people know, because unfortunately, systematically, we're not encouraged to go ahead and give that information. So in other words, if she answered the phone on the day that I called, I would have had the experience that my wife Laura did, which is that they would refer you with somebody they knew. But she's very aware that not everyone does that. If you can, Bruce, kind of tell us, so if someone were to call your office today, they spoke with you and they said they want to get a conservatorship, walk us through what the process is from the phone call to having the conservatorship in place, barring any kind of issues with the court.
Right. So from the initial phone call, let's say Brian's calling me now, doesn't know anything about this, but you referred us to Brian, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay, Brian, what's going on? Well, my son's turning 18 in July. He's special needs. What does he have? ASD, whatever he has. Is he attending a region? So we get qualification questions.
Yeah.
So he fits within a limited conservatorship definition. Okay. So what we do then is we would forward to him a 2-page questionnaire. Now there's a nonprofit out there that has a 20-page questionnaire.
Oh my gosh.
And it's all for their donors. It's demographic, all for their donors. So it's 2 pages. It basically just covers who the proposed conservator is, if there's going to be a co-conservator like you and Laura have, a relative, social security number, just basic information. Mm-hmm. From the questionnaire, which is then sent back to us, we'll review it. Okay, I just need the driver's license for Brian. I need whatever. Okay, I need all the relatives, which are the paternal and maternal grandparents and siblings over 12. Okay, we got that. We then go to prepare the petition documents. Once we have that, or before that, we will then let you know about the signing appointment. And it's gone from me doing it in person 200 times or whatever to now doing what's called did you go to a group signing, Sean, or did you go to a
I don't know. I don't remember how the signing we did. I think it was a group signing. I believe so. Yes.
Okay. So what we do is we have now group signings almost 2 weeks, every 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was a group.
In Norwalk at Denny's in the back room. Our last one had 21 families there. We took over most of Denny's. We provide breakfast or lunch at our cost. We take the families either 2 at a time or 1 at a time, whatever. It's between like 11:30 and 3:30. We had this document signed. Of course, we go through the documents with them and what they all mean, including the fee waiver.
And I'm sorry, I just want to point that out too, because when you have I know this from any other event you attend, you get to Denny's, you have the back room, we come in there, and the first thing you said was, when we came over and we introduced ourselves, we had only spoken on the phone, and you said, oh, great, nice to finally meet you. Go ahead, have a seat, order whatever you want to. And I look around and I felt like I was at home, because there were, family members in wheelchairs and things like that. And the way they looked at me, there was like, I see you. I see you.
Yeah, no, and
as busy as you were, I just got to give you this credit, because I know you're not comfortable with this, but take this. It would have been just as easy for you to say, sign here, and sign here. But in that room with those people, when we sat down and we ordered a breakfast, you were with a family and you sat with them as long as it took to get them where they needed to go.
Right.
You served from the heart. And then you got up and you went around and did that. And when you came to our table, again, you did not say sign here, sign there. You got everything out and you go, okay. And then the first thing you told me was, you see all these pages here, 20 of them, everything 50. They're telling you in these pages, 50, right? You said everything they're saying in these 50 pages, they could say it in half if they wanted to. I hate that. Yeah, and you told me that. Yeah. And then you took the time to tell us, this is what this means. This is what that means. I just wanted to give you that, because in that environment, you could have easily said, sign here, sign there, but you didn't. You took the time.
Oh, well, that's what a quote another attorney would probably do. That's willing to take the case. I mean, but again, these guys are charging thousands of dollars, and so forth. So yeah, we have, and also, my two associates, Hector and Lorena, again, Spanish, so they really have to spend some, pretty serious time explaining all, because this is completely foreign to Mo. Anybody, I don't care for you, anybody, Brian, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
to me,
right.
What the hell is
overwhelming?
So and what's good about the group signings? I'll see people staying after they sign or eat. Now they're with other families who've eaten. They're giving referrals to each other. They're inviting them to their home. It's very heartwarming. That's why we do it. I mean, I've done group signings at the law library with 12 families by myself. And I could do that. I could easily have a little office somewhere and have coffee and donuts and whatever. It's just not what I don't really do this to make a living. I already, I did really well in real estate. But it's just, everybody that's there, all of us, we want to be there. We really want to be helping. It's not a job. If they just really, really, and you can't be that. You have to be that kind of person. You're not going to be with us if you're not really into this. Like some attorneys are, just sign there, just don't worry about it, whatever. And that just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So again, we will take them. They'll sign all the documents, again, including the fee waiver, which basically the court will charge up to $1,200 for filing fees. We don't allow that to happen with our families. We have some benefit they're receiving, which waives the fee. There are attorneys out there that will charge up to $1,000 just to have that document signed. That's just criminal. It's just, to me, it's criminal. So then we have all the documents signed. We make sure at that point that they get what's called the capacity declaration, which is the medical report their doctor needs to fill out and get filed. We give that to them with a self-addressed envelope. They go on their way. We file the documents. We then email them their hearing date and time. What we do at that point, we just basically wait until the getting close to the hearing. We'll make an appointment for them. Our families don't go to court. It's all done by phone. We don't allow anything else other than phone, Zoom. A lot of them don't have computers. A lot of them don't understand that, like me. Just don't understand how that works.
That was tremendous. That was such a tremendous relief for us too, because we were wondering socially taking Elijah to a courtroom, like what is that gonna be like? Not have to have dealt with that was. That's the only thing about COVID. The only thing positive is that you don't have to go to court. The courts love it. They love it. Yeah, I love it because I was going to court. I went to a number of hearings, and like an Elijah, like somebody, a total meltdown. And the bailiff has to say, "Please take your child out into the outside." I mean, all sorts of stuff going on. But again, now the courts have done something really cute. We could normally make that appointment to call into court 2 weeks before, right? We send them the PIN number, right? Everything perfect. Well, now some jack off somewhere in a cubicle, windowless cubicle somewhere goes, "Hey, let's try to do it this way. Let's try to do it where they have to request the hearing or the phone in the same day." The same day of the hearing.
I hate to have you do a review of the DMV, Bruce.
But then the family has to do it. I can't even do it for them. Now
the DMV is better.
So look what they've done. What if they have no computer that day?
Yeah, exactly.
What if they're somewhere else on somebody else's computer? I mean, to me, that's intentionally screwing up the system that was working perfectly fine.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be a problem for us because if they make that throughout the entire system, we can't help the families make their appointment 2 weeks ahead of time.
Just for the sake of time, Bruce, because we're getting close to the end of the hour. Is there more to that process than what you've just described? I'm sure there's much more, right?
Well, yeah, that's basically we'll get the hearing. The hearing will most likely be granted unless otherwise continued for some reason.
Yeah.
Once it's granted, we then send an order to appoint conservator to the court-appointed attorney. Like Elijah had his own attorney paid for by the county. Again, some of them are okay. Most of them are not very good. They sign it. Boom, we get that approved by the judge, and we get the final documents, which are the letters of conservatorship, certified by the court they can use to show the world they got the powers. That's basically it.
Overall, what's that time frame, beginning to end?
Well, normally it would have been 2.5 months from the time we actually file. Now, because of our volume, it's going to take 3 months. I mean, we're already seeing filings in December. We would have had them in October. So that's getting pushed back. Then if it gets continued by whatever, now you got another 2 months. Now you're into February of next year.
Yeah. All the more reason why act appropriately sooner is better depending on the age.
We put it up on the screen again to go to the Conservatorship Center. Easy for me to say. The Conservatorship.
Either can I. Don't worry.
Conservatorshipcenter.com. Oh, you guys, what a day! This has been great kickoff to our fourth season. Go to the Conservatorship Center. .com, and you can find more information and access Bruce and his team and get all the answers. Well,
I think also Brian, just somebody is just a call and leave a voicemail or something because the website basically what it does is just allow you to send an inquiry to us,
gotcha.
Which we follow up on. But we want people free to call us or email us. I can give you my email if you want. So we can answer questions and we can kind of do that. So
we'll put in the show notes afterwards, the email address. And again, Bruce, I was just fascinated with a subject matter that I have no exposure to. Right. So
of course not.
Thank you for doing that. I just, as we get here towards the end of the show, we're going to ask you a question. And I don't know if Sean prepped you for this or not, but go ahead, Sean, you ask our question.
Well, this is the portion of the show, everything that we're about, that you're about, most of our listeners are about, is in some way, shape, or form trying to make the world a better place, leaving it better than we found it. And with that said, give us just one example of a thought or a belief that you once believed strongly, but no longer believe to be true.
That I believe strongly. Well, I mean, I guess I believe in people to some extent to do the right thing when it's needed to be done. And that's in question a little bit. I don't see a lot of caring and empathy out there, which is not what I'm about. I'm about, somebody falls, you pick them up. Somebody needs help, you help them. So, the world obviously is what it is today. But that's kind of what I see. And that's why that's why we do what we do is to, make a little bit of a difference in the world. I wish everybody's 1 hour a month, just do something that's not about you. I think it'd be a better place.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
So, and actually, Bruce, that's an awesome segue to wrapping up the show, because usually when we do this, Sean and I have some sort of message, and we generally have the same, we exchange. But when I always sign off after thanking everybody, of course, I always say that empathy and love is needed more now than ever. Like we need to be empathetic. See somebody in a situation, have some empathy, what they're going through, and then if you look at the world through the lenses of love, the world's a much better place. So I'm with you. Empathy and love is kind of what makes it all go around.
And November 5th, just do the right thing. I'm not going to say
whatever that means to people. Whatever that means.
Whatever that is for you.
That's right.
Whatever it is, but they should participate. I'm with you there. Sean, you want to wrap us out?
Yeah, I was just going to say, echoing everything you've just said, questions are so much more powerful than statements. We have to try and retain the child in us as much as possible, be more childlike and less childish. We have more things in common than we do otherwise. Absolutely. And as you mentioned earlier, one of the great sponsors and or partners of ours is, again, Billy Footwear. If you click on the link, which is on the screen, and you will find in the show notes, you get 10% off your purchase. They're a fantastic company, and the story of Billy Price, the founder, how he was led to making adaptive footwear for those that are disabled is just, a fantastic story. We have just want to thank everyone within the sound of our voice for tuning in. We're so excited about this upcoming season. We've got more announcements that are coming along the way. Really great things that we're excited about. And again, Bruce, I want to thank you so much for your time today, and look forward to working with you further in the future. Because, again, in the words of the great Muhammad Ali, service to others is the rent we pay for our room on earth. Because trust me, I don't care how much money you got, how good you look, how good you smell. The room on this planet is for rent. You don't have a mortgage on it. We're not here forever. So make it count and make other people feel good.
And you guys keep doing what you're doing. This is great.
Thank you, Bruce.
It's one more.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's one more element. Yeah, it's educating other people. That's the key.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it.
And then when we sign off, Bruce, stick around for a second, Bruce. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Another episode of Just Two Dads.